prefaced it with that, and then he was like, that Nintendo, and then we're going to quote here, should quickly graduate from the current controller. And this is a bit of a long one. Bear with me. Oh, he didn't say that. Jesus didn't say that. Nintendo ain't say that. Miyamoto says, quote, Jesus. No, shoot, I did it again. God damn it. Miyamoto be saying, quote, hello, my beautiful swords, axes, and lances. Welcome to the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 36. I am your host, Oni Dino. With me, I have a student of the Academy who's got the slowest speed stat. It's Galen!
You know, it would be higher if you would just bring me into battle and level me up, but no, I'll just use you for your support class every once in a while.
No, go back and study because you failed that test 3 times.
Listen, it was not multiple choice. Like, what are you supposed to do in that situation?
Well, I guess you're gonna have to do like physical manual labor because you at least got the arm strength. Hey everybody, good audio quality is back.
Yeah.
Very sorry if you were joining us in those last 2 episodes because a little bit rough, but you know what? Life is life.
You know what? I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all.
No. Wait, did I just apologize?
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, speaking of bad audio quality, it is thunderstorming where I am at, so you may hear the occasional crackle of the thunder from the Pikachus. So just gotta give that preface in case you hear it ahead of time. If you are just joining our podcast and you're a new listener, welcome, and we hope you are enjoying hanging out with us. Galen and I are very happy to have you. Aren't you, Galen?
I am ecstatic to have all you guys here.
That sounded so fake. It actually wasn't totally fake, though, because I didn't prep you for this or anything. But Galen's, I don't know, he's got this commercial voice where a lot of the things that, you know what I mean? Some of the sentiments that you say sound, I really don't mean this as an insult, but like plasticky or fake. But it's just kind of the way that you sound. And I've known you for a very long time, so I can see right through when you're BSing me, and I know when you're BSing me. Because he do. But it's never when he sounds like he's actually BSing you. There's a lot of twists. He's like an M. Night Shyamalan book. Wait, he's script. Oh no.
I see video game people.
So, this week, Japan Expo in France and Anime Expo in LA have been happening, so there's quite a bit of news, and we can't go over all of it, and we might even overlook something from here or there, but if there is something that you want to hear our opinions on, or you even want to tell us about, remember that you can always write into us by sending us a mail at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com. I really wanted to mention that email up front because we've been getting some real good emails from some lovely listeners in the past several weeks, haven't we?
Absolutely. We even have we now have a couple of repeat emailers too, so.
I love it.
Yeah.
I remember people's names.
Yeah, me too.
And Galen and I both read every single email that comes through, even the long ones, even the filthy ones.
I'm looking at you, Max. All of the long ones.
Did he write out? Oh, I don't remember. Oh, wait! I shouldn't leave that on the podcast! That sounds like I'm a jerk.
That's staying in.
Yeah. You're not even editing this. What are you saying? That's staying in.
I know, but I can tell that's staying in.
I know I've mentioned this before, but what if I just cut out everything that you say and only leave mine in and upload that, and then I listen back to it myself and be like, you know what? It's a good podcast today, guys.
What was that? You're gonna replace me with all the Nintendo noises again?
Yeah. I would put you in as like characters from ARMS, so that way I'd be like, whoa, this is kind of crazy news, isn't it, Springman? And he'd be like, Springman! Well, I guess I could just put him in right there. Springman! There he goes. I downloaded all of the voice clips for the ARMS characters because I was, going to use them maybe in the podcast, and they kind of didn't work out. No. Like, they kind of didn't work out, so I don't think I've really put them in too much. But I realized, like, Ribbon Girl has some of the best voice clips. Like, there's one where, I think it's when she wins. She goes, ribbon bum, like that, and it's like, exact, because she says ribbon, right?
Oh, okay.
So ribbon bum, like that, but it's so sassy, and it reminds me of my friend. When he cross-dresses, he becomes Lisa Wu, and his thing for Lisa Wu is that she always goes woo woo woo, and it's exactly like ribbon bum. I sent it to him, and I was like, someone stole your style, and he's like, that bitch. So, what is coming up in this episode? We are going to be talking all about Fire Emblem 3 Houses. That is coming out in less than 3 weeks, so it is the perfect time to celebrate, eh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hey.
This is why we need to look at each other in the visuals on the online, so that way I can be like, say something.
I miss your stares of indifference and judgment.
Yes. They pierce your soul like a lance through a sword user. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he's especially good against axes.
This is like completely unrelated. I mean, not completely, but it was just like, I know this fact. Anyway, talking about Fire Emblem, we're also going to be talking about some interesting details that we just got out from Nintendo for their plans for the future and next-gen based controllers that they were talking about at the shareholders meeting recently.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple other more little tidbits. We're going to be talking a little bit about Daemon X Machina because I feel like it, because I'm selfish and I want to gush about that game. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the big old mess that was Bloodstained on the Nintendo Switch and our feelings about it.
the hot anime mess.
Hot anime? Put that on my tombstone. Oh, I just said shoot.
Springman!
So, before all that, let's just jump into the adventure, okay?
Let's do it. Yeah!
So, this week I didn't play nothing because I'm busy. What do you want from me? This is a Nintendo Everything podcast. I don't care. Galen, you bought Super Mario Maker 2, it seems. Why don't you tell me all about what a great time you've been having playing a whole bunch of terribly designed stages.
So, I actually rented Super Mario Maker 2 because I have that option where I live.
What? Did you go to the family video that is also a taco store and also a CBD oil dispensary?
The one and only, well, one and only because there's only like one left. There's actually like 6 in the area within driving distance for me, believe it or not.
Did you really go there?
Yeah, no, I rented it.
Oh my god! Yeah, so, okay, of course, I was back in the place where Galen and I used to live, and Galen lives there, and I saw that place, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. It was did we talk about this last week on the podcast?
No.
So, it used to be the store that you and I used to go to all the time, and we would rent the video games, and we would walk back home. And then now, just to keep this video game and movie rental store afloat, they put in 2 more businesses inside of it. And it is the weirdest combination.
It is the greatest combination. The burrito one is a little bit weird, but one of their other locations has a pizza joint that's also in it. So it's an ingenious idea. You go and you rent a movie, you get a pizza, and they have like a little checkout counter where you can just pick the pizza up from. And yeah, it's beautifully done.
And you can rub some CBD oil on your joints.
Okay, I haven't found any of those places yet, but I know it is.
You were just in one.
They didn't have it at the one where we were driving by, did we? Did it?
Wait, which?
I don't remember.
You talking
I
about
didn't notice.
the one that we always used to go to as a kid?
Yes.
As a kid, as one whole child, as we were once were.
One child.
When we were once one child.
Back in another age when we were one being and at harmony with each other, and then the split happened, and we've just been arguing ever since. Oh my god, my entire childhood has just made sense to me.
Wait, so you didn't go in and get some CBDs?
I did not. No.
That's the CBD is that component that they extract from cannabis so it can go on your joints and stuff. It apparently is good for lots of junk.
I went in with one goal only, and that was to rent Super Mario Maker 2.
Oh yeah, video games. Tell me about Super Mario Maker.
I was actually on the fence a little bit on the longevity of the game itself, and I'm very happy I rented it. I think I'm going to hold off just a little bit before I pick it up, but when it goes on sale, I would be happy to pick it up as a whole.
Well, that's going to be a year from now, and it's only going to be $10 off.
Oh god, it's a Nintendo
It's a Nintendo published title.
You're
you
right.
don't need to. Those things sell just constantly.
They never go on sale.
No, like almost never, and it's only ever for like $10, at least in the States.
The game was really enjoyable. So what I did was I primarily focused on the story mode more than anything. I wanted to blitz through that, kind of get through that entire thing. It's a lot more in depth than I was expecting.
Cool.
So it starts off with like you just built up Peach's castle, and then all of a sudden the little dog, which is the eraser when you're in the stage builder icon, comes around and steps on a rocket ship and ends up destroying all of Peach's castle.
Oh, that's cute.
It's a freaking adorable. So the entire point of the story mode is just that you are rebuilding Peach's new castle. And it's everything from you take jobs, and the coins that you get in these levels, you actually put towards rebuilding it. So it's like you've got the East Wing, which is going to be like 700 gold coins in order to build up. And then you need to put a cannon on top of it, which is going to be an extra 500 gold coins. So it actually gives you more incentive than going through all the different levels and everything, just getting to the end. Like, you want to take the time and kind of get as many coins as you can. Like, the coins actually have merit, have value.
That's great.
If you will. Yeah. They have like a weird bounty board system where every mission that you would go to, there's two Toads. Like, you've got Toad and Toadette that you talk to. Toadette is the one where you plan out what you're building on the castle. Toad is the one that you actually do your different levels through, and each one has some weird like plot line that goes along with it. Like, everyone has a description, and then it's signed by some person, and there's a couple that's like name redacted, but you can totally tell it's like Bowser Jr.
That's cute. I like little humor like that.
Yeah. And then there's another one where it's like, hey, I'm looking at buying a house, but I don't know what's in it. Would you mind checking it out? And that's like the entire theme. So it's like, hey, this house looks pretty cool, but it's got a really big basement. Do you mind checking it out for me? And the entire thing's completely flooded. So it's got that classic Nintendo charm going along with it that I did not expect out of the story mode. So I was very, very happy about that. With that said, by the time I was returning the game, I was 92% done with everything that the story mode had to offer.
And how many hours did you put into the game?
I didn't keep track. I did kind of play
Your Switch
it more
keeps
on
track
and
for
off.
you.
Oh, well, I did not keep track of it.
Oh my god, you're a fake gamer.
I will say I probably put about maybe 7 hours into it total, as far as just the story mode, because I was also going on and checking out some of the downloadable levels that there were, or the user-created ones. That said, I actually really didn't touch the level creation mode of it all too much. Like, I was really just enjoying the game and enjoying what each of the levels had to offer, which, when I talked about it last week, I was really under the impression of your traditional Mario levels, with the rare exceptions being the ones like, oh, hey, this is an auto-scroll one, or hey, this is a Mario Kaizo inspired level where you have to like break the game just in order to beat it. The addition to the clear conditions that they have in there and the extra things that they put into it changes the entire feel of the game itself.
That's great. That's super great.
And some of the levels that I have seen in there are really ingenious.
Like what? What have you seen?
Well, like, there's this one level that I played where it's actually inspired by the game Five Nights at Freddy's. And it is you in an area. You have one other block that you can move to, and you have all of the enemies coming at you from every single direction. Goombas, wigglers, boos, things like that. But how you keep yourself from dying is you have a P block, and you actually put the P block in front of where the enemies are coming towards you. They register the P blocks there, and then they walk in the opposite direction. And it's supposed to simulate the mechanics of Five Nights at Freddy's, where you have to go around, you have to close the door right when the enemies are coming straight at you to try to keep them out.
Now I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and it was like, it sounded weird at first, and I was like, okay, what the heck is this actually going to be? But no, it was really intense, and they managed to kind of capture the excitement of, oh my god, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta get ready, I gotta prepare, and almost that management feel to it, which I did not expect. So
I really should get this game. I didn't.
It's a lot of fun. I will admit, after playing it for about a week, I feel like I have gotten my fill of the game for the moment, because there's not a lot. You don't get necessarily that sense of advancement that I usually look for when I'm looking into a game, like when I play RPGs, when I play even the action games or things like that. There's
I was
like
just going to say, you like to play Destiny, though.
Yeah.
That game's
there's
a continuous loop.
Seriously. I haven't played Destiny in a couple of weeks now. Yeah, like, you still feel like there's this level of progression, like, hey, I just got that one new gun, or hey, I just accessed that new stage that I can get to. With Mario, it's more of like that, getting that fix. Like, hey, this is really cool. I really wanted to play this. Hey, I played that. I'm happy with what I have. I can put this down and go to something else.
I feel like you could say that, though, about a lot of different video games, you know?
True. But it's a little bit different with a game like Destiny, for example, because there was that fear, because it has that social element, which, now that I'm talking about this now, I think we'll talk about a little bit later. Yeah.
That's what developers, like not crappy developers, but crappy publishers want to push developers to put in their games, is FOMO.
Well, it's a little bit different when it comes to online games with a social element to it, because there is a fear of missing out, but it's a fear of missing out in you being able to keep pace with your friends and you being able to play the missions along with them.
Yeah, exactly. It's the level 2, level 3 kind of FOMO. It's a real.
Like in World of Warcraft, if you're playing and, your night elf isn't as high as his paladin, well, he's going to go do this raid. Well, you got to go grind for a little bit more.
Or get somebody to carry you.
You almost feel obligated that you have to keep up with the game, even if you don't necessarily want to play it. Like, there have been times when I've been playing Destiny that I really was kind of getting tired of it, but I knew that this was the only chance I was going to get my, 4 hours a weekend to try to get my stuff to keep track with everybody.
That's super awful. That sounds like hell. Why would you do that to yourself?
Well, it's the reason I haven't played it for a couple of weeks now. I was like, hey, I need a break. I'm just
Good, sell it.
It's on my console. I can't sell it.
Up. Digital versus physical. All that stuff. Lighting fires left and right.
With that said, though, I felt a different sense of satisfaction from Mario.
So what are your final thoughts then on Mario Maker for the short time that you played it then?
For the short time, the game is phenomenal. It is tight controls, it feels very clean, and I can see an endless amount of entertainment that is coming from it with the amount of ingenuity that people can put into this game. If you are looking for a quick fix on it, or just like, hey, I feel like playing a platformer game, but I'm not looking to invest a whole lot of time into like a story, or I don't have a whole lot of time, this game would be a great rent. This game would be good to buy and keep on the back burner.
Yeah, I could see this being one of those evergreen titles that Nintendo loves to push.
Exactly. Also, I saw the new Spider-Man movie.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but everybody keeps saying like it's like the best.
I definitely enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it better than the first one. But I won't go into any spoilers or anything like that.
No, don't go into anything on it.
It's good. Yeah. Because it's not a video game. And we talk about video games here.
Sometimes.
And not cannabis oils.
Sometimes. Okay, let's go and talk about the news.
The news. The news, the news, the news. I don't know. There was like a rhythm to that. I liked it.
Yeah, there was. I also felt it. I don't know.
Nice!
So very briefly, I just wanted to mention Daemon X Machina. They as in Nintendo, have put out some trailers recently. Shut up. Don't embarrass me in front of the weapon triangles. They've been putting out some trailers recently showing off major improvements that have been made to the game based on player feedback from the prologue demo that was put out several months back, I think in February. I was really, really surprised with this and I wanted to talk about it because they basically did like literally everything I asked them to do. It was uncanny. Mm-hmm. It was almost like they used my very email, but I think everybody had a lot of the same complaints.
Yeah. This was really cool, and I can't think of any companies that have really come out and said, hey, we listened to what you were talking about from the demo, and we went ahead and made some changes. These are the changes that we made.
I can't remember that it's been done before, though, not by Nintendo. It has to have been done before. Like, I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
I'm sure it has, but never of a title that has this much of a spotlight on it.
Does it? I feel like it's kind of going under the radar.
It's got Nintendo's, attention on it, so
they're publishing it.
Well, yeah. So, it's exciting. I'm saying I'm really happy they did this.
Well, you can't be happy. Apparently. Not if I have anything to say about it.
Oh, I'm just, I'm remembering that inner peace when we were one child, and I wish we could go back to that.
When we were one whole child.
One whole child.
The OWC. One whole child. Okay. So, I also wanted to say what up to our homeboy from a couple episodes back. It was Max, right?
Mm-hmm.
They made this damn game faster. And I am so excited, and he was totally right about them making it faster. And I was like, I don't know, but they totally did.
Yeah, this game seems so much faster. I love what they were talking about, like, hey, you can now lock onto multiple targets when you're going around, and the camera will move around with it. And even some of those, like, quality of life improvements, like, hey, we increase the distance that you need to be in order to steal equipment from your fallen foes. Like,
salvage.
You don't have to be... Or salvage, sorry. It was really cool. And I'm really happy to see a company take the initiative and be like, hey, we know that our game's not perfect, but we want to make the best damn game that we can. So here's what we made changes on because we heard that you guys were interested in this.
Yeah.
And
we heard that you were interested in this. What?
Like, interested in the changes, and like you cared enough about the project to give us feedback on it that was constructive, so we're not going to let that go to waste. I feel like a lot of companies, especially when they developers, they put out a demo or they put out a beta, or God, I hate the classification of betas nowadays, but they put out something early and it's like, hey, we're going to stress test this and we're looking for feedback on it. And they do absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah. It's just a marketing thing that releases 2 weeks before. We've talked about this before. But yeah, that was like a genuine, legit like beta, I would say. I mean, I don't know, it's closer to a beta than something that releases 2 weeks ahead of the actual game. But you know what's ironic about that, though, is that so many AAA publishers, they release games that are damn betas because they ain't finished. And they're like, it has a roadmap. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle roadmap. It's like, that game's not finished. Put it back.
Your Avengers aren't done cooking. Put them back into the oven.
Oh, they're so not done, dude. They're so undone. Have you seen those faces?
Mm-hmm.
Like, legit, every single one of those characters is like the unsexiest version of that character.
Yeah. Well, and
they look hideous. I wouldn't bang one of them. That's step one to creating a good video game.
I want to make a joke here just saying, like, that's America's polygons.
Oh, yeah. Man. Hopefully they got good butts, though. I don't know. Who cares? Who cares about that game for real? Looks like shite. Daemon X Machina, looking like a banger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more excited for this game than I even was before.
They also announced the limited edition.
Yes, as you said. The Orbital Limited Edition, announced for only so far European release. Nothing in
Strange.
the North America
Okay.
or the Japans.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get something, like, small with that.
I don't know. So far they haven't announced anything, and that game comes out real soon.
It does. It looks cool, though, the little figure that comes along with it.
Yeah. So they have a 18 centimeter figure, as well as a hanger-style box with a compartment, whatever that means.
Yeah, I'm not quite following that one.
Maybe the arsenal goes in there? I don't know.
Maybe.
Then a steelbook, the game, of course, and a 100-page art book.
Neat.
That is not for me, though, I will say. That is
Yeah.
a ton of junk to fill my space with, and my personality is already a wasteland. I don't need my physical space to also be a trash pile.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, but
yeah.
I used to be super invested in the idea of, like, those physical statues and whatnot, and I think especially with, like, the Batman Arkham series, when that came out, I got a couple of the collector's editions just because I really wanted those statues.
You super did. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I recognize the error of my ways at this point,
That's
and that I
okay.
have no place to display them anymore. So
That's okay. Don't feel shame or anything like that. There's no error of your ways. It's just, you changed mindsets or whatever. Don't feel shame for nothing you do.
And I still have them if I ever want to put them back up. So there you go.
Oh, you're not displaying them, but you've just taken them down?
Oh yeah, I've put them back in its box and they're in storage at this point.
Oh, sell them. Make money.
Or hold on to it and sell them later for more money.
That is the trap that everybody falls into. Meanwhile, how is that cardboard box of Beanie Babies doing for you?
I don't know. It's right on top of my box of not first edition Charizards that I
Oh my god, you still have your
believe-
Pokemon cards?
I still have my Magic the Gathering cards. What are you talking about?
Well, that makes sense. People are still playing that.
Actually, funny story. I went through my one of my old decks that I just stumbled across, and I found some cards in there that were worth like $70-$80 that were just sitting in a box. And I'm like, why do I even have these?
Did you sell them?
Nope, they're still in my garage.
Oh my god, just sell them. Your wife is going to be so mad when she's like, why are you sitting on money? Sell them. Pay off your bills.
I have so many bills.
Yeah, you got automobiles. Anyway, I would like that art book, though. That Daemon X Machina art book. I am a big ol' sucker for art books when a game has cool design, and I would love that art book.
Would you ever consider going on to like third market, like eBay or something like that, just to pick up the art book? Or
Nah,
something?
because it's always...
You figure you can pick up something like that for pretty cheap, like maybe $10 or something.
No way. That's always going to be expensive because it's limited, and I don't really like the idea of spending a large amount of money to give just a reseller money for somebody else's work.
I see that.
Especially when it comes to art. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Talking about cool design, let's talk about Fire Emblem 3 Houses, also known as Fifth.
Do 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 do.
So Fire Emblem 3 Houses, terrible title, I still hate it. Anyway, that game is coming out in 3 weeks, so in the 3 weeks leading up, we are going to talk about it just a skosh every week because Nintendo themselves has kicked off a new video series for the game where each week they are going to highlight one of the houses and their house leader.
So 3 houses, 3 weeks, 3 days of coverage.
Yeah.
Nice.
of course, we'll be talking about that, but we'll be talking about more information that we got this week, because we got a big old list of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But to kick it off, we're going to talk about the new video that Nintendo just put out on their YouTube. It goes over Edelgard and the Black Eagles. The Black Eagles are mostly nobles and magic users. Edelgard is the future emperor of the Adrestian Empire. I think is that right? I don't know. I wrote it down real weird. So they also introduce Hubert, who likes coffee and irony. He's apparently cold-blooded, and he has served Edelgard since she was a child.
Mm-hmm.
They also introduced Petra, and she's my favorite that they introduced of the three people, I think. She is a princess of a state of the empire where they speak a different language, and she is still grasping the local language. So I'm a linguist. I think that is super adorable, and I hope they execute it well. I have a crush on her already.
I actually really appreciated that character out of the three the most. Like, that's the one that was like, oh, that's kind of unique. I like that.
Yeah. I talked about this last episode, I think, on the podcast. You localize a character's accent, and I love when they do that in games, and it's done so infrequently.
Yeah. On a personal note, I feel like you and I have talked about this before. I've always had a fascination with different dialects and accents within a similar foreign country or anything. Like,
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated as to the perception of different Japanese accents to other Japanese people. Like, here in the States, if you're talking with a southern drawl a little bit, there's like almost a stereotype, or I don't want to call it a stigma, that's too harsh, but
No, there is, and they do have that in other countries as well. They have that in Japan even.
yeah, but I'm always really fascinated by that. If you go over to England or something, there's like 17 different variations of like an English dialect.
There's
when you're
way
over
more
there.
than that, actually. I know you
There's
tried to say a
way
big
more.
number, but it's way bigger than 17.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, they showcased Lindhart, who is a researcher who likes naps. He's me. That is me.
I felt he was a little out of place with the tone of everybody else who was there, but I appreciate it.
God, he reminds me of, I forgot what his name was. I think he was a Chinese character from King of Fighters, was it 15 that came out? Where he fights with a pillow because he likes sleeping? It speaks to my heart. So far, I enjoyed that little trailer. It gave a little bit more personality to the team.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of excited to see what the other houses have to offer as far as
Me too.
characters that they want to showcase.
And then this week we also learned about the expansion pass that Fire Emblem 3 houses will have. Now, it's a Fire Emblem game, it's a modern Fire Emblem game. We knew it was going to have DLC. This one, though, is just one pass, and it is $25 US. Let's detail what it goes through, and then we'll talk about just Fire Emblem and their history of DLC, just a skosh. There's 4 waves, and I honestly, reading through it, I was like, there's 3 waves and 1 bonus. Like, do not with your 4 waves. So they're saying wave 1 is the Officers Academy outfits for your main character, Billith. Wait, hold on. Not Billith, but Bulleth. Boy, that sounds really similar to probably everybody. Interesting side note tidbit here. I was looking up, because I was like, wait, how do you spell this name again? And I was looking it up on Google, and as soon as I typed in Bulleth, I got a little wiki article, and I'm just going to read you an excerpt from this wiki article, because that's an actual name, and it comes from a thing. So here it is. In demonology, Billeth, also spelled blah blah blah, is a mighty and terrible king of hell, who has 85 legions of demons under his command. I think that is so cool, and I'm like, why has nobody mentioned this on any of the news sites that I frequent? Like, they named him after a demon.
But there you go. Fire Emblem 3 houses just spoiled right there.
No. I love little things like that.
No, that's really cool. I really like that.
I hope that throughout the story, there's like demonology undertones to a whole bunch of this. Like, sometimes when there's like a soft retelling of like a classic tale or like soft retelling of something from mythology in a modern sense or whatever. That's just fun. It just adds a little spice to it. You can just totally ignore it, or if you know about it, then you're like, oh, that's kind of a cool little thing. So anyway, going back to the DLC. Wow, I'm all over the place. Going back to the DLC. You get a little outfit, and that's wave 1. That is not wave 1, especially compared to these next substantial waves.
Okay.
So just like, Nintendo, knock it off. That is not wave 1, okay?
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Do not pee on my leg and tell me that it is raining. Then wave 2 is new auxiliary battle maps, in-game support items, and more. We don't know what the and more is. But that's all coming in October of 2019.
Probably more costumes.
Well, funny you should say that, because then the third wave is new quests and costumes, and then, quote, plus another free update, end quote. That is coming in December of 2019. No idea what that means. That's super vague.
Okay.
But, I mean, cool.
Yeah.
Then the final update, and this reminds me so much of Xenoblade 2's expansion pass. It is a new story content, additional playable characters, locations, and more, plus another free update. That comes in April of 2020.
I wonder what these free updates are going to be.
I wonder if they're going to be like modes that they are going to add to the game that's not going to be part of the paid DLC.
Maybe.
I recall with Xenoblade 2, they ended up releasing in the waves some stuff that was free, and then the lion's share of things were part of the paid DLC.
Yeah.
And they just like improved that game and like did a roadmap for Xenoblade. So it'll be cool if they do that for Fire Emblem as well.
Yeah. It's nice to know that they have a plan.
Yeah, me too. I like a little general thing like this.
Yeah.
Because especially when they're asking you to buy something like an expansion pass or whatever, you should always know what you're buying. I remember Ni no Kuni 2, they asked you to buy an expansion pass and they didn't even say what was in that thing. And it's like, you're not even just going to give us a little thingy here? It's characters, items, whatever. That's terrible. You should never do that. Publisher. We should mention that, okay, this is an expansion pass, a post-launch DLC thing. It is $25. This is, in my opinion, still better than a lot of things that past Fire Emblem games have done, where they've really piecemealed a lot of stuff, and it's been like, wave 1, basically expansion pass 1 is $15, but then you can piecemeal everything, and there's a savings of 14 or whatever the hell. And Shadows of Valentia in particular, I think that was the last Fire Emblem game on 3DS, that had piecemeal DLC that was all more expensive than the actual game itself.
Really?
Yeah, it was really gross. So I like this flat rate thing. It would be nice if they would offer each of those waves as, their own DLC, say 7 times 3 is 21, so 8 times 3?
And some change, yeah.
Is it 8 times 3? Is 8 times 3 24? Holy shit.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it?
$8.33 US dollars.
So basically, each of these waves, if it would be, say, $10 each, that way they're like, oh, if you buy the expansion pass, you're getting $5 off, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool because, say, you don't want all that stuff. That's good to give people options.
Yeah.
So hopefully they do that.
I'm crossing my fingers. I mean, I do have a little bit of experience with the Fire Emblem DLC. The only bit that I've done was, what was the first one that came out for the 3DS? I can't remember. It's the one with Chrom in it. Yes, that's the one. So I got the DLC that came along with that, and especially the first map, and it kind of ruined the game for me. I'm not going to lie.
What? Why?
So the level was a bunch of bandits have stolen a bunch of treasure. You happen to stumble across them. And the idea is that every single time you kill one of the enemies, they drop like a crap ton of gold on it. And I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Like too much gold.
Yeah, and I can just do this over and over again because like there was no limit to the amount of times you can go through these maps. So I would just go through and I would do it like 4 or 5 times, and then I would realize all my weapons are now busted because I kept using them in this one thing. So I would go back to the store, I would buy like the best weapons that they had available because I had this onslaught of gold, and the cycle would just continue on and on and on, and I made no more progress after that. I was stuck
Okay,
in
but
a
why did you
perpetual
allow
loop.
yourself to do that, though?
Because I never learned my lessons, and we've already established this several times.
That's very true. But that does make sense, though, where, basically that's the thing, is like you have to make a game that perfect level of challenge. And what was it? There's a great X and Y chart where it's like challenge and ease or something, and it has to fall in the middle. Otherwise, the person will get bored because it's too easy and they're not having fun because they're just too powerful, which is kind of what your situation was. Or if the game is too hard, then they'll quit because they're not having fun.
It was also one of those things where in a game like Fire Emblem, you don't get a whole lot of chances to be able to level up your team, level up your party, or anything like that. So
yeah, it depends on the game, but sometimes it's like a straight linear progress. Like, what was it? Fates, the dark one, the Dark Fates one. Oh God, whatever it was called. That one, you could not level up. I mean, you could not grind, so you had to. You could get yourself screwed in three ways, 2/3 of the way through the game, and then have to start over because you couldn't level up.
Yeah.
Unless you bought DLC.
And in a game where there's such a penalty to the point where if you mess up once and your character dies, they are gone forever, unless you hit the reset button on the mission.
Oh yeah, everybody be doing that too.
Everybody be doing that.
So this game, as we know, is co-developed with Koei Tecmo, and recently they detailed about that process, and basically they said that pretty much everything was done by Intelligent Systems, the company that is making the game that's owned by Nintendo.
Yeah.
The design, all that junk, done by Intelligent Systems, and Koei Tecmo was mainly consulting and programming. They also mentioned that there was just a coincidence with Koei Tecmo's property, Three Kingdoms. Do you know that property, Galen?
I've heard of it. I haven't played it.
Okay, so what that is like a sub-series, I guess, of the Warring Kingdoms series, like Dynasty Warriors and such, but it's a strategy game, not a full-on hack and slash like the Warriors titles are. And it's based on Chinese history where there was the 3 Warring Kingdoms. So the people from Intelligent Systems were saying that some of the staff at Koei Tecmo that they were working with also had been longtime veterans developing Three Kingdoms. So it kind of worked that 3 houses has its similarities, but they said it was probably an unconscious decision if it was anything at all. I thought that was kind of a cute comparison.
Yeah, I like that.
So I thought it was super interesting to hear that Koei Tecmo mostly did the programming for this game, because personally, I think that Koei Tecmo games have a certain level of jank to them, visually, that I really love. And this game, I mean, kind of unsurprisingly, because it's Nintendo published, it has more polish to it, it seems.
Well, and I mean, they did make a note to say that a lot of the graphical designs and things like that, were done by Intelligent Design. So I feel like when they were referring that they were helping mainly with the programming, they were getting down to the brass tacks of, hey, let's get this coding underway and things like that.
And then we also learned recently from Japan Expo that there is going to be amiibo support for the auxiliary battles.
Yay, they're not useless.
I knew you were going to say something like that. I was like, Galen, look, they're not dead.
I am very passionate about my amiibos, okay?
They're all in the box and you can't use them.
They are out of the box, so I have to use them.
They are not. I just saw you put several boxes away in your closet.
Only 4.
What? Anyway.
Yeah.
So, all Fire Emblem amiibo can be used in this game to unlock music from their respective games, but only in the auxiliary battles. What do you think about this usage?
I think that's cool. I think that's a good compromise. Like, part of me wants to say, it would be better if you could unlock the character, or you can unlock like a weapon that's from the person's game series, but thinking about it practically, like, no, the music is a good trade-off, and it's not a... Having the amiibo doesn't give you an advantage, it just gives you that little bit of nostalgia and a little bit of a payoff for being a fan of that particular figure or that particular series.
So I'm actually in disagreement with you on this. I think that this is a crappy amiibo support bonus. I think that if they're going to do the music thing, then it shouldn't be just in the auxiliary battles. You should be able to change your music in the regular battles too if you want.
Oh,
I get that they want people to listen to the music that they made. I am all for that, but I don't know, just give them the option.
Mm-hmm.
That, or why not in just the auxiliary battles themselves, why not unlock the respective character as like a summon attack, or just as a character to use in those optional battles only, where, you know, they're not getting experience or whatever, you're just using them just for fun for that battle only. And I mean, they have the models made for most of those characters anyway, because they're all from Fire Emblem Warriors almost. I think Alm and Roy are not in Fire Emblem Warriors, but other than that, almost all the other ones are.
Yeah. Or, I'm just going to say it, costumes.
Yeah. Do a costume. Why not? Even some sort of palette color change. I mean, shit, do that.
Oh, amiibos.
That's the never-ending struggle with it, is that people will always be upset if you use it too little. It's too little of a effect on the game or too much of an effect. It's just you're upsetting different crowds. You're upsetting the people who own the amiibo if it's a crappy effect like this one, and then you're upsetting people who don't own the amiibo if it's a really good thing, and they're like, well, it's a paywall and I can't buy it, you know?
Well, and I think Nintendo kind of learned their lesson with the Breath of the Wild amiibos. Like, some of those, especially like the Young Link one, where it's everybody wanted their Fierce Deity costume, but that one you can now only get it from third parties and things like that, and people are relatively upset, to say the least.
But why do you think that Nintendo learned their lesson? They haven't done anything about that.
Well,
if they had learned their lesson, they would have put it back in print and made more money.
I think it's more of a matter of they're learning their lesson for the future, and they're taking a more cautious approach with how they're incorporating amiibo use.
Oh, I disagree. They're going to make something stupid. They're going to do another dumb mistake in the future.
We'll just have to wait and see.
It's Nintendo. Come on. We love and are so frustrated by them.
It's me, Mario. Give me your money.
There was also a really interesting note from one of the lead developers from Japan Expo. They mentioned that with the new upgrade to hardware with the Switch, it's not just the visuals that are getting improved, but also they have more space for text. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, of course, that makes more sense. It's a higher resolution, right? But then they say because of that, they have been adding more lore, delving into characters' backstories and such. And I very, very much love that.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah. Very, very, really, really.
Very, very, really, really.
I have to say, though, like, when I hear about the game, I am kind of lukewarm on it, but when I see footage and details about the systems, I get really intrigued, and I'm like, oh yeah, I am excited for this game. I'm not exactly sure, though, what the narrative is, and that's quite important to me. When they first introduced this game, I was most excited to hear about the story initially, but since then, I have heard the least about the story. I was expecting like a big old, like, a Song of Ice and Fire influence on the story.
I think they're trying to leave it a little bit vague because a lot of the story has so much to do with which house do you choose. Like, they're really wanting to paint the scene or paint the setting and let you create the story to go along with it. Because playing through this, I'm actually getting a little bit of almost a Pokemon-esque vibe from it, in the sense of how you play the game is going to be different than how your friend plays the game.
That is totally true.
Yeah.
That's because you can, like, tutor your students and all that stuff, and you can have them have whatever weapons and skills you want to raise them with. You just got to raise them that way.
And not only that, you have the character interactions between them. I mean, you may have certain students be more cooperative with each other than with other ones. So, I mean, the character interaction is probably a bigger part of Fire Emblem than the actual combat of the game. Well, the entire thing of all of the Fire Emblem games that I have played is this idea of permadeath. And in order to make that actually have gravity and weight, they want you to have an emotional connection to all of their characters. That's why they are fleshing their characters out as much as they are. And especially with the weeks leading up to it, that's why they're taking the time to be like, hey, if you choose this house, these are some of the characters that you can play with.
Yeah, but I just want my battle system and my story, the overarching narrative, to be substantial as well, not just the characters. Otherwise, it's not compelling me to go through the whole game. That's always been my issue with Fire Emblem, because there's ones that I really enjoyed, and there's other ones that I'm just real lukewarm on. So hopefully this will be a good one. I'm buying it, so.
You know what? You can always rent it first.
From where? I have no Burrito CBD games. Oh man, I should post a picture of that on my Twitter or something like that. Yeah, actually, after this episode goes up in a day, I will post a picture so you all can see this awful location.
So many memories when I was one child.
The OWC, one whole child.
RIVBOM!
So moving on to Nintendo's shareholder meeting. Got some information from the investors asking a whole bunch of dumb questions at the Q&A, like, what is an Nintendo?
Really?
Well, okay, my grandmother always called my Nintendo, she called any video game an Nintendo.
Nintendo, E-N, Nintendo.
Yeah. Do you have your Nintendo?
Fantastic.
And I'd be like, Grandma, this is a PlayStation. Yeah, your Nintendo. So there was a particularly interesting question. There were two that we'll talk about. One was about global trends, cloud gaming, VR, and 5G. This one investor said that Nintendo has been this is a quote too, has been a little slow to join large global trends like the mobile business and releasing games that use VR, end quote. So with that said, this person asked Nintendo about topics like cloud gaming and 5G. Now in response to this, there was Furukawa, Miyamoto, and Ko Shiota, who is a director and senior executive at Nintendo. Furukawa responded and said in so many words that they're like looking into those things right now. They think dedicated hardware and software is currently the way to go, but they have to keep up with changes in the environment. What do you think about that kind of response, Galen?
To be completely honest, I am not surprised by this response at all.
Yeah.
I feel like Nintendo made the right call by being a little bit more cautious when implementing these kind of things. Like, I honestly think that, and I'm actually going to call out, I can't remember his name, I deeply apologize, but one of our commenters on our... one of the commenters on our YouTube...
Oh, wait, no, they're listening. Shoot.
Posting.
I thought you were talking about a Japanese person that's working in Japan.
No.
I mean, we got listeners in Japan, but I mean, probably not from Nintendo. I don't know, maybe. Konnichiwa. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
But one of our commenters on our YouTube channel, they made a couple of posts in regards to trying to keep up with like Sony and Microsoft and how they are proceeding things and how they are going to be looking at like the future of gaming and like particularly like what are with the higher costs and development for making these games. Like when the PS5 comes out, are we going to be seeing $70 games instead of 60? Like, But the points that he was bringing up was a general concern of what Nintendo is doing in response to all these things. And I really feel like Nintendo's doing the right thing by taking their time and evaluating the market so that they can proceed and keep up with everybody, but keep their own identity while they're with it.
So the next was Miyamoto, And he started off by saying, quote, "We have not fallen behind with either VR or network services," end quote. Personally, I'm like, yes, he did. Maybe on the R&D side, you didn't fall behind, but on implementation?
VR is one thing that I will go ahead and set aside and address that in a moment, but networking, I'm wondering if he's talking about like the physical hardware of network, or if he is talking about like their internet service as a whole. Because if they're talking like the hardware that's based within the Switch and being able to reach all of the wireless channels and everything, I mean, I can see where he's coming from and being like, hey, the online specifications that the Switch have are equal to what the PlayStation 4 has when it comes to like connecting to a wireless network.
Nintendo ain't say that.
I'm just saying, when I play it, I do not see any difference between the two when I play on Wi-Fi. Playing a PS4 game versus playing a Switch game, I don't see the difference when it comes to latency or anything.
I don't know. We shouldn't go down that road because neither of us know what we're talking about in that regard. There's actual hardware inside of those two machines that people can give definitive answers to. Anyway, in general, Miyamoto, the answers that he gave were very conservative and not open to cloud gaming. So that was a little concerning, in my opinion.
I share his skepticism in cloud gaming at the moment.
Yeah, skepticism for sure, but just completely not open to it. Like, compare his answer with Furukawa, where Furukawa is like, we still think what we're doing is the way to go, but we have to keep up with the market.
Well, and again, this kind of goes to my comment before, where I think that Nintendo has done very well with their approach of let things kind of go forward before they make action, because they want to keep their own identity with how they are proceeding with things.
Yeah, I like that general business practice. But I'm just saying, like, Miyamoto was like, no.
Straight up saying no.
Yeah. And then after that was Ko Shiota. Shiota said the most interesting and substantial stuff, in my opinion. He basically said that 5G is great and that Nintendo is investigating it, but that Nintendo does not only chase after trends in technology. They try to consider how technology can be applied to gameplay to offer unique experiences. And also, cost is an important factor. He said it's difficult to use a technology if the cost is too high, and I assume that he means like on the consumer side there. So, they will continue to thoroughly investigate cost of new technologies. I said technologies.
I actually read that more as an interpretive of like them implementing the technology within their systems. Like, if you're looking at trying to get the hold of like the higher end processors or the latest processors, as opposed to like using the current generations or maybe like yesterday's, but using the stuff that we know the bugs that they have and using it well.
I think that regardless, what he said is a great and honest answer. That is a very substantial answer, as opposed to, so okay, Furukawa's was like pleasant and open-minded, but a bit hollow. He didn't really say a whole lot. Miyamoto's was concerning and resistant to change. And then Shioda's was logical and informative. I think it's fascinating that those three people gave such different answers.
It was a good trifecta of opinions.
It was a weapon triangle, if you will.
I knew you were going to do that.
It's the theme of the show. What do you... Don't you fight me. What are you going to use when you fight me, huh?
What are you going to use?
No, I asked you first. You have to choose. You're initiating combat, clearly.
I'm going to use dark magic.
That's fine. I will use light magic.
Not a thing.
What do you mean not a thing? You are a fake gamer for Fire Emblem.
Crap, they do have holy, don't they?
Yeah, that's the magical triangle.
Yeah, because it was light, dark, and element.
Maybe this is why you stop playing Fire Emblem, because you lose. You get your people killed.
Element was good. Okay, gotcha.
You sit right there in that place that I put you.
Hey, I'm gonna go grind on my DLC level for a little bit. So
I do not want to hear about what you grind on, okay? And then the next interesting thing that they talked about at the shareholders meeting is an investor asked them about control styles. They wanted to know what developers feel about looking at a screen and having a controller in their hands, because they kind of mentioned how the market hasn't moved on from that.
Mm-hmm.
The investor asked that, and Shinya Takahashi responded, and he kind of said like nothing, just like fluff about how they're always trying new things. Okay, next. Miyamoto's comments were the most interesting. I got thoughts about this, but again, information first. He mentions more old stuff about, being the first to create the D-pad, the additional buttons, the analog stick. This is all important for him to mention this to investors who don't even know what a video game even is. Otherwise, I would be annoyed by this kind of like sort of self-congratulatory, overly nostalgic response,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we have to remember the audience at these shareholder things. So he prefaced it with that, and then he was like, that Nintendo, and then we're going to quote here, should quickly graduate from the current controller. And this is a bit of a long one. Bear with me. Oh, he didn't say that. Jesus ain't say that. Nintendo ain't say that. Miyamoto says, quote, Jesus. No, shoot, I did it again. God damn it. Miyamoto be saying, quote, our objective is to achieve an interface that surpasses the current controller, where what the player does is directly reflected on the screen and the user can clearly feel the result. This has not been achieved yet. We have tried all kinds of motion controllers, but none seem to work for all people. As the company that knows the most about controllers, we have been striving to create a controller that can be used with ease and that will become the standard for the next generation. End quote. That's a lot. There's a lot of stuff in there. This worries me a bit, but I want to hear what you think first, Galen.
Honestly, I feel like this is the same melody that they have been sticking to for years. Like, this is the reason that they focus so... why we saw such a dramatic shift right after the GameCube era.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go into motion control and then trying, the Wii U joypad, and this answer doesn't surprise me in the least. And them saying, "Hey, we are currently working and investigating on new ways to, keep up this innovation." Like, that doesn't surprise me at all. Like,
no, that is fluff.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, what he's saying about really being forward thinking about these kinds of new methods of controlling and then doing something where it's directly reflected on the screen, that sounds like the Kinect. But what do you think about that strong statement?
I feel like Miyamoto is somehow involved, and this is me completely speculating at this point.
That's what we're doing. That's what we do on the Nintendo Everything podcast.
I feel like he's probably involved in some sort of a project that involves the next version of VR that Nintendo is going to be going into. Like, I would not be surprised if we see the Virtual Vive or something like that. Like,
what did you say?
The Virtual Vive.
What is that? That sounds like a club I don't want to go to.
Like, instead of the HTC Vibe, it is the Virtual Boy Vibe. Like, Virtual Vibe. Like, combine the two.
Yeah, but you had to explain
like
it.
One whole child.
One whole child. This child grew up, okay? This one over here.
I would not be surprised if they... Because he seemed very adamant when he was talking about it earlier about, like, hey, look, we've got an awesome VR program going off that we think really works. And they're talking about Labo, where you can hold your screen up and look around your Smash Bros. Stage as computers fight. Like, clearly something else is going on that is giving him this level of optimism.
So that's the part, though, that concerns me. it, like you said, it doesn't surprise me, but it concerns me because I don't want to see something completely different from controls as the Wii was from the GameCube. Like, this is just me talking here, but I barely played the Wii. I thought sometimes it was fun, but at the end of the day, like, I just want to lay on my bed with a damn controller in my hands and press buttons while I munch on snacks, and then I get, like, shards of snacks in my bed sheets, and then it upsets me hours later because it's like, ow! You know the thing.
Yeah, no, I get you. I can understand the
I eat snacks,
strive. I also eat snacks. I can understand the strive to want to perfect the one-to-one motion of your character in a game versus your character of what you're doing. But not only, like you said, there are some people who want to put in that minimum action into it while laying on a bed, eating snacks, and still feel like you're being awesome and, you know, fighting zombies and cutting up monsters and stuff. My thought is kind of extending more towards limiting to people who may have some physical limitations, who might not be able to get involved in that kind of a stuff. And
that aspect I really like. I hope that they're going after that.
I am too. So ultimately, I am not as worried about this quote as you are, I believe.
Yeah. I really don't want them to go away from actual controls. Like, when the Wii U came out, I was like, oh, good, it's a controller again.
Nintendo's gonna take away my snacks.
Yeah. Bring the snacks back. I got a controllers again.
Make Nintendo snacks great again.
Oh, gosh. So what I would like to see, though, honestly, is like an improvement to the Joy-Con. Make them... Okay, so there was... I gotta mention this dude, or dudette. There's a commenter on this article named Delta Peng, and he's got a penguin as his little thingy, or their little thingy, and it's great. And they mentioned making improvements to the Joy-Con. I also was thinking this. They said they want to see them more durable and comfortable, like a larger Wiimote kind of size. And personally, I
would not mind a larger Joy-Con. Yeah,
I would totally love to see a redesign of the Joy-Con, one that had bigger buttons like the Pro Controller and felt a bit more ergonomic in the hand and had like a general better build quality.
So, fun story, when I was playing Super Mario Maker 2, I got stuck on this one particular level where you had to wall slide down a tunnel and you couldn't go too fast because there was like poison floor that was lowering, but it was lowering with the stage as it was scrolling down. So the entire thing was you had to pace yourself and make sure you wall jump side to side to kind of keep up your momentum and keep it slow.
Side, slippity slide.
Exactly. The problem is that every once in a while, when I would jump between, my big old sausage fingers would slip, hit the down button, and I would jump and all of a sudden do a ground pound directly into the poison floor. I did it 12 different times trying to get through this flippin' level.
Oh, you should have recorded it.
I wish I did, but I was getting so mad. So
that's would have been the best part of it, is you getting mad.
I am right there with you when I say that I would love to have a more form-fitting controller.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like reverse, what are those called that you beat people up with and they're illegal? Knuckles? Brass knuckles.
Sweet.
Make a Joy-Con reverse brass knuckle where it's actually around your hand and it feels comfortable actually to be in your hand. I'm also thinking unintangibly. That's not a word. Not tangibly. So I don't know if this could actually work, but just something where it feels much more comfortable, and then you can just lay there with one hand on the side and then one hand underneath your butt or whatever. Just the ultimate lazy mode, you know?
Yeah.
Clearly, ultimate lazy mode is where I personally thrive, according to me a few minutes ago. I'm endless trash over here is what I am.
Didn't one of the Bayonetta games have an ultimate lazy mode?
It had a tappy mode.
Yeah, it had a mode where you could play the game with just like one hand, which I thought was hilarious and gross at the same time.
Oh.
And he got it.
Fight
Lastly, let's just mention in passing the Bloodstained Symphony of the... Wait, no, I did it wrong. Night... Vampire... Ritual of
Keep
the
trying.
Night.
You
Right?
got this. Yeah.
Okay, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Conundrum. So that game, on release, sold great on Switch, in the UK in particular. The first week sales on the Switch were more than the Xbox and the PS4 combined. That's why it hurts so much that that game came out in the state that it did. That port was not finished.
Yeah.
I sent you a couple of videos. The visuals are heavily downgraded. There are tons of frame rate problems, audio bugs, input lag. It was just straight up not finished.
No, there are some serious issues, and I saw the...
I can't believe it got released and certified.
Yeah. No, and I saw the developers were like, yeah, hey, we've got these fixes. They should be out next week. And I'm just sitting here, it's like, there's a lot to fix. You sure you got this?
Yeah, you're going to need a roadmap of fixes. Roadmap of fixes. That's like the George R.R. Martin novel about video games. So, this game on Switch released 1 week later than the PS4, PC, and Xbox versions. Now we know why. At least that's my speculation, right? Is so it didn't give bad press or whatever that first week, which is crucial in the video game industry.
Yeah. And it's a shame because I feel like
shame.
the reason it's shame. Well, and that statement works too, but
Talking like Petra,
a shame.
my girlfriend.
It is a shame because I feel like this game would be best on the Switch. Like being able to
Hell yeah.
sit on a bed and eat snacks and be able to clear a couple of floors in your haunted castle. Like that. I feel like you can't really get that on the PS4 or the Xbox. Like the portability
depending on your
aspect
setup
is
in your
what-
house, you can. But lots of
yeah,
people don't have the
but-
flexibility of that. But yes, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. Shame.
So I would have much preferred them to be transparent and say, we're so sorry, we have to delay the Switch version because it is not done and we don't want to put out a game that is in this state. You know?
Yeah.
That sucks to have to wait for your platform of choice, but it's the lesser of two evils of being like, here's your game. Oh, did you order a loaf of bread? Eat this dough. It's been in the oven for a second.
Yeah. And this, if I remember correctly, the Switch version was one of the Kickstarter goals, right?
No, the Wii U was on there, and so was the Vita and the 3DS.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This game was kickstarted a while ago. So those three platforms and probably something else. Who knows? I don't know, phone, Nokia, whatever. That was on the Kickstarter, and then recently, I want to say maybe within a year ago, they were like, listen, well, they already said Wii U a while ago, not happening. It's going to be on the Switch instead. They said, listen, the 3DS version and the Vita versions, it can't happen. We don't have the resources. And people were upset by that, but it was a bullet that I think most people could bite because they were also like, go ahead, switch your stuff to whatever platform that you want that we are making.
Yeah.
Look at Mighty Number 9. That came out on everything but the 3DS and maybe the Vita.
Ugh,
and that was a huge mess for a million reasons, but trying to stretch yourself across all these different platforms and make it for all these different versions.
It's consuming. It's time consuming. It's resource consuming. It's after a certain amount of time, you just have to be like, okay, listen, we're gonna hit these markets and just call it good.
Yeah, that's what they did. And that was smart. Except that they didn't finish the Switch game and they put it out like that. They put out the physical version too. So imagine on your cart, that's what you got. I mean, hopefully this game gets shored up sometime in the future, but I don't know, you're going to be downloading gigabytes of patches to fix it, which I hope that they honestly do that because I would love to play this game on my Switch. I was really looking forward to this one. I got feelings.
You know what? Just keep an eye on that roadmap.
Oh, Jesus. So let's move on to additional DLC. Galen,
Yes.
what do you got for the DC DLC?
I got some good old-fashioned guilty pleasure trash.
Oh, I love pleasure trash.
So I stumbled across a video earlier, I think it was last week. I think I actually sent it to you, Oni.
I didn't watch it.
It is... I know you didn't.
Well, if you even sent it to me, I don't know, check your history. Make a liar out of yourself, not me.
It is titled How Nintendo Won E3 2019. And it's basically... They took the final, I believe it's one of the final fights from the remake of Full Metal Alchemist and put like the Sony and Xbox and Nintendo logos over the various attacks, and like it's Nintendo coming back and being like, oh, well, I'm going to win this. And he's like, his punch is the Breath of the Wild 2 screenshot. And it's so ridiculous in its entirety of how this is all being put together, because they have the trope of like all of the people who are watching the fight on the sidelines who are like cheering on the main character, in this case Nintendo, and you have like Roy Mustang is CD Projekt Red, and like one of the other characters who was a villain in the past but is now rooting for him is Sega, and is like, we once fought once, but now I am rooting for you entirely. And it's
okay.
It's so ridiculous in its concept, but it works on some level, and it makes me happy on the inside. So, like I said, guilty pleasure on this one.
Why was Sony in there?
Sony? Sony is the overlord watching the fight and being like, oh, do you really want to take me on? I've got Last of Us Part 2 coming out next year. And it's like, you know what? That's a pretty cool game, but I think I can take you. And it's just like, the end is just like both of them like going at it with their big games and what they're thinking are going to be coming out next year. So watch the video. It's about 5 minutes long, but it works.
Ugh.
I like it.
I'm kidding.
Oni, what do you've got?
What do you've got?
What do you've got?
You are becoming Petra. Except I don't have a crush on you. I have a recommendation for a video on YouTube. Of course, it is a review by Avalanche Reviews. I love this man, Jared. He is reviewing Ring of Red from the early PS2 era. Now, this is a game...
I remember that game.
Yeah, this is a game that you and I played quite a bit. I owned it. Did you own it?
Either we both owned it and I traded my copy away, or I just borrowed your copy.
Okay, yeah. There was a lot of that back in the day.
I might have rented it.
So I'm going to take a bit of a quote out of what he said, and I'm also going to throw a little bit of my own twist in there on this review. You can listen to a grown man with a smooth voice gush about how good the game design is in early 2000s SRPG. Wait, no, not game design, menu design. That's what he talked about. But he also talks about all the other stuff. So anyway, he has... Shut up. He has a really, really in-depth review. You get to learn exactly what all of this is about, and he goes into some nooks and crannies too. It is a good, I think, 20-minute review. So do check it out, because this is an SRPG of historical fiction. This is if Japan post-World War II got split up into a situation not unlike Korea right now, where the northern part is the Soviet part, the central part is the Japanese part, and then the southern part of Japan is the part occupied by, I think, the United States.
Huh.
So this is an SRPG where you fight in mechs, and then you also have ground troops on the floor. It has a total aesthetic for World War II, even though it takes place after that, just the visual aesthetic is that. And it is so cool to see all these different mechs, especially of different designs between the American-made ones, the German-made ones, the Japanese. They all have different animations that are chunky and heavy and really impressive for such an early PS2 game. So I will say that if you are into like Into the Breach, historical fiction, mechs in general, and like that melodramatic serious Attack on Titan vibe of storytelling, do check out this game because it is so dear to my heart. I feel like this is a game, it's by Konami, so it's not going to get a remaster, but I feel like this is a game that really deserves a remaster with a few quality of life features, and especially on a platform like Switch. That would be great. But hey, I wished for Seiken Densetsu 3 to have a remake, and it became Trials of Mana, and it happened. So if I wish hard enough, clearly I am the god of the universe, and I can wish these things to happen. It just takes a while.
Maybe we'll get a Nintendo Labo version of it.
I didn't wish that. So now let's read some listener mail from our lovely listeners.
Listener mail.
Once again, if you have an email, you can hear us read it out. The words that you wrote on the keyboard, we'll read those. By sending us an email to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
That email once more is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
And if you did a little tappy tappy, it might sound a little something like this.
We got another email from Will.
What up, Will?
Hey! For you listeners out there, Will was the one who sent us an email a couple episodes ago that was asking what was our favorite question, or what was the game that we hated, but we played it through all the way because we just wanted to, like, get as an ode to the actual series itself.
You're just tripping all over your toe feets.
All over my hairless toe feets. So, Will writes, "Hey guys, it's Will again. In answer to your kind questions, I always get my brekkie, though I typically stick to cereal and toast rather than, as we call it, black pudding. I've only had that once, along with haggis, on a family holiday in Scotland. It was weird."
Well done on that weird. He did put about 18 E's in there.
So, I thought it might be mildly interesting to do sort of a reverse version of the previous question. Please, could you talk about any games that you were sure you would loathe, but you got it on a whim and discovered that you loved it and were unable to put it down? Keep up the great work. All the best, Will. Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will.
So, Oni, what game did you pick up thinking that you would absolutely hate, but you ended up loving it?
You go first. I gotta think.
So, I've actually got two games that come to mind on this one. The first one was actually the newer Spider-Man game for the PS4.
Oh, really? You thought you'd hate that?
I thought I was going to be disappointed by it because
That totally
I felt
looks
like
like
it
your
was just
style of game.
It should be, and I was a really big fan of the Batman Arkham City games, but that was the thing. I had that as my standard of, this is what I'm holding this game up to. There's no way that I could possibly reach this amount. They're just trying to copy it, and it's going to be something that's in the back of my mind this entire time.
Okay.
Fortunately, when I was playing it, I felt like the game had enough of its own identity that I never really thought much into, like, that this was just a copy of another game or anything like that. Like, and I enjoyed the game so much, I actually 100%ed it. So I really enjoyed that.
Holy crap.
One.
That's a lot. There's a lot of this Spiderman in.
There was a lot of Spider-Man in.
There's a lot of shooting your web.
The other game that I kind of had this happen to was Saints Row 3. Only thinks this is really funny because my wife was just playing Saints Row 4 and we were talking about how fun the game was when he was over visiting.
I ain't say that. I said that because I watched my husband play Saints Row 3.
Oh.
You ain't read my mind.
I had those inner feelings because we were one whole child. I love this joke.
Yeah, it's almost like you're gonna wear it out before the show's over with.
Hey, I got this one episode and then I'm gonna completely forget about it. So I'm gonna make it work. But no, I usually am not that big of a fan of this kind of game. Like the GTA-esque like style to it, I wasn't really that big of a fan of. I picked it up because a friend of mine was also playing it, and he was like, "Oh, you gotta play this game with me. You gotta play this game with me." And I'm like, "All right, fine. I'll jump. It's on sale. I'll go pick it up." Ended up absolutely loving the game. I thought it was fantastic. So, and actually got really excited when the sequel came out. So, yeah. I don't know. Like you generally have like. You know exactly what it is that you want to play, and you know what you like and what you don't like. I feel like you're not often surprised by a lot of games.
Yeah. That's why I guess I look forward to when like people have a recommendation for me that I've never heard of or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all knowing, so I need people to tell me the little tiny tidbits that I've not known.
Have there been any AAA games that you were like very hesitant going into?
I mean, like all of them, and that's why I don't play them.
But you found out that you liked them in the end.
You know, I guess I do have to say, like, Borderlands. I was, like, encouraged to play that game because of it being a co-op thing, and my husband was like, yeah, we should play this. And I was like, fine. And so I tried it out. It was when Borderlands 2 came out.
Yeah.
And that was surprisingly fun.
Borderlands 2 is the superior Borderlands.
Is it?
Oh yeah, no, the one that they came out with after that, the pre-sequel, total trash because they
that wasn't
they
out
implemented
by the time that we bought it like right when it first came out.
No, Borderlands 2 is probably my favorite of the series so far.
Yeah, so that was a ton of fun just because I didn't know that there was so much narrative to it. I'm just not too much into FPS games, and that game had a lot of enemies that you fought that weren't just like other soldiers shooting back at you. That I think is the most, for me, not criticizing anybody else, but for me, that is like the most boring gameplay. I just don't like shooting and cover shooting and stuff like that. That's why I was super bummed out in the late stages of RE5, and I was like, this is what we're doing now? Damn it. So it was more interesting to me to shoot other creatures and stuff and, you know, dodge them in different ways. And that's also why I find Metroid to be pretty interesting. My least favorite enemies in Metroid are the space pirates. In terms of like story and what I like to read about, love hearing about the space pirates, but I don't like fighting them because, you know, they're just shooting each other and it's not engaging to me.
Gotcha.
So
that
game
sense.
also had good creature design too. Metroid has good creature design as well. That's clearly my thing. Is I love to see monsters.
I think you just like weird monsters.
I do. I like weird people and I like weird monsters.
Aww.
Hello everyone. This is future Onidino. I am recording this in post because at the moment that we were talking about this live on the podcast, there was a bunch of people shooting off fireworks and my cat was incredibly terrified and it was distracting me because I was trying to console her while Galen was talking, and it was a whole thing. It was a bag of cats for sure. So anyway, I couldn't think on the spot, and I didn't want to just give poor Will a single answer. I always try to treat our listener mails with the utmost respect and the utmost consideration to give a good answer. So I wanted to record an additional part in post. Oh, by the way, cat is totally cool. Her name is Boo. Don't worry, she was fine. So here we go. Another game in that same vein, it's a first-person shooter that I recall thinking that I wouldn't like it, was, and this is taking it back, GoldenEye 64 on the Nintendo 64, clearly. At that time, with the 64 having released not too long ago, speaking of the time period, I liked Mario Party. Like if we were getting together and playing like a party game, that's what I was into. Then a friend of ours busted out GoldenEye. They had it because they were into like guns and shooting and spies and James Bond and stuff. That game's multiplayer, even though we did 4 players and like the frame rate was, you know, chugging and chugging, that game was nonstop, so much fun. But I think it's because of the local couch co-op that we had with friends at the time. I didn't care for the story mode too much. I played a little bit of it and it was all right, but it was that co-op that really stuck me in. I think that is a good moral, like weirdly enough, coming straight from gaming, a good moral that you can use on people and just in general in life as well. Okay, so back to past Onidino and Galen. So thank you very much for that question, Will.
Thanks, Will.
I've never really thought about that. Especially, that was a difficult question for me in particular because, like Galen said, I just kind of pick up what I want. I know what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I take control. I'm a power gamer.
Are you playing with power now?
Oh, that? Yeah, sure. Never mind. I'm sure somebody who was listening got it. Oh, so if you want to be cool like Will,
he always gets his brekkie.
You can send us that email to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Remember that email is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
So what is coming up? What is coming out on Nintendo Everything? We got a ton of E3 impressions that I've been writing up. I put out 1 million of them this past week. It's going to be 1 million more this coming week. So stay tuned all week for that. We also have a dev interview that we're translating on Hatsune Miku. We also have an interview about Smash Bros. And the Smash mural. Stay tuned for all of that on nintendoeverything.com. You can also stay connected on our Twitter. That's at nineverything. And the YouTube, youtube.com/nineverything. Then on Twitter, you can find me at Oni_Dino. Recently, I've been putting out a Japanese word of the day tweet. And so if you are a person who speaks a little bit of Japanese, has a little bit of a foundation, that's who I'm aiming this at. And I'm trying to put out words that are genuinely useful in conversation and is good for the building blocks of good conversation. So, for example, I put out the word progressive or the phrase to overcome something. What did I put out earlier today? Now I'm on the spot and I don't remember what I put out today. Anyway, these are all, it's not like, table, human. It's nothing like that. It's genuine stuff that's like, oh, okay, well, personally, I think this, or if I could say something succinctly, like that kind of stuff. So you can find that happening on my Twitter. I do one every day.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. And lately, on my Instagram, I've been posting lots of different stuff. Sometimes I put up Galen's face with a beer in front of it.
Yeah.
That's at Oni__Dino for the Insta. And then Galen, what do you do and where?
I think your Instagram has more pictures of my face than mine does.
Why don't you share your Instagram?
I really don't ever use it, to be completely honest.
Well, maybe
but you know what
should.
I do
Maybe
use?
that's what the people demand.
Yeah, you know what? You guys can all find me on Twitter at Mobius087. And if you would prefer to get in touch with me via the Instagram, let me know. And I will start using that a little bit more frequently. I'll also maybe remember what my login is. I don't remember at the top of my head.
You can barely remember your Twitter one every week.
Right?
So support us by giving us a rating on your listening platform of choice. Do the little subscribe buttons or like buttons or whatever the hell they got wherever you're at. It tells people that you are listening. That's weird. That was creepy. Shut up. It helps the show to be recommended to other people. You know how there's like a and recommendation thing at the bottom there? Like that's how we get found, is people recommending us out or the algorithm just giving us a bone once in a while. That's how you can best support our show. So stay tuned for next week and for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Bye-bye.
Later, everyone.